The following podcast has been paid for by Let Me Book the Territory.
In a world where A-Dub and E-Ray have left their mics, a man emerges from Bill and Ted's phone booth that also kind of looks like a DeLorean to give the people what they didn't even know they needed. He captivates the masses with his stories of quantum leaping from one wrestling era to another, comparing and contrasting the wrestling world of old with the wrestling world of today in only the way he can. Ladies and gentlemen, Let Me Book the Territory proudly presents The B.A. Show, featuring Sean from Fourth Rope Wrestling, powered by the Embrace the Turn Up Network.
What you gonna do, brother, when these Let Me Book the Territory boys go sit down and let B.A. get on the mic? What is good, everybody? It is I, B.A.D.B.I.C. in the building. Let Me Book the Territory presents The B.A. Show. I mixed it up there on you. Featuring Sean from Fourth Rope. Episode 3. So happy to be here. Sean, the homie, what is going on, man? What is happening?
Yo, what is going on, guys? It's been a minute, couple weeks. We are on to some non-WWEF action today, and it's going to be a good one. I'm going to let BA tell y'all what we get into.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure y'all been like, well, what the fuck is this? Are these guys getting paid by WWE? Like, is Vince McMahon in their pockets? Pause. No. Thank you very much. We just out here living, man. And speaking of living, one thing I will never do in the future is tease y'all, because after last week when we said we were going to go the Saudi route and all that stuff, nah. Y'all would have probably never listened to us again if we would have talked about one of the Saudi shows as we talked through it. So me and the genius had to pivot, and we pivoted to a time in the mid-90s, I'd say, 1997, over on the other channel, so to speak. Seeing that it is Double or Nothing season, just passing at this point when this comes out, and with the new AEW Collision show coming out, we felt it was no better time than now to hop in the DeLorean, and instead of going to Stamford, Connecticut to see what Vince was cooking, let's go down south. Hit up the headquarters in Atlanta, Georgia. Take a flight over to Vegas, the site normally of Double or Nothing, also this year as well, and go to a past WCW show in Las Vegas. Back in the day, Halloween Havocs used to always happen at the MGM Grand, same place that Double or Nothing's taking place at. So we figured it'd be a good time to go look at one of my personal favorite Halloween Havocs that I remember. Also, a couple familiar faces that you'll see on your TVs, or just saw on your TVs, I should say, on pay-per-view this past Sunday, are still wrestling at this time, I should say. I'm sure you guys could probably guess those people. But yes, 1997 Halloween Havoc. We did not get the normal sold-out crowd because this is not a WWE show. And I saw some blacked out curtains, and we did not get an exact attendance number. But that's all good. All is well. Still had a great crowd. Crowd was into the show. I would say pretty raucous as far as how they were they were giving the appropriate reactions to things, I'd say. But yeah, man, this card was bonkers. This is a great card to bring up because, as y'all know here, I've said it many a times. This show and the main show that comes out every single Friday, this is my era of being a kid. So this stuff brought back a lot of memories, brought a lot of things flooding back, a lot of craziness that I forgot, a lot of things I remembered and was looking forward to see it again. So Sean, you being more of the person looking back, not really in the product, so to speak, because you were not even, you were little at this point, right?
I was 3 months old.
Wow.
I was I was 3 months old, I think. Or 2 months old, something like
So
that.
I could guarantee your pops is probably watching this, holding you.
Oh yeah, no, my pops at the time during the Monday Night Wars was WCW all the way. So yeah, I was definitely seeing this further on. Had to look back. I don't remember if this at all. Like I said, 3 months old. So definitely looking back on this one, you got more of the retrospective. So I imagine most of that insight is gonna come from you on this one. With the live look, because I'd imagine you were, 10 years old when this came out, something like that.
Yeah, 10 years old. Yes, sir. 10 years old. Exactly. This pay-per-view, this is still in the era of dubbing shit on VHS. So I definitely had this dubbed down. As E-Ray on our main pod can attest, BA was always having a pay-per-view going on his house. Sometimes times was really good where I was getting WWF at the time and WCW for pay-per-views. So this had to be one of them months. Yeah, mom and dad was doing pretty good at this point in time. There's also some months where the cable was getting cut off. So it was like the stock market in the Adams household growing up. But that's all good. But yes, this card, like Sean said, it sticks out a lot. There's a bunch of random stuff that happens at the end of this card. I can't wait to get into the weeds on. But we're gonna start at match 1. In typical WCW fashion, we have a fire-ass cruiserweight match to start off the card. We got Yuji Nagata, who I was a big fan of Yuji Nagata, love the Nagata a lot, coming down with Sonny Ono and versus Ultimo Dragon. Now, to give a little background on this match, Ultimo Dragon was formerly managed by Sonny Ono, but Sonny Ono was always pulling some cheap shit he pulled on Ultimo Dragon, unfortunately. And Yuji Nagata was the person that he was wrestling at the time, and they joined forces. So that was a little bit of background. That's what was happening on Nitros leading up to this match. Another thing that stuck out to me, and you'll see him throughout the card. I don't know if you're familiar with this, Sean, but as far as Charles Robinson, did you notice him in the ring in this match?
Yep.
This is his first gig. He was a WCW rep. Not only was he just a WCW rep, in a year or two from this, he will become famously Lil Nate, Ric Flair's coined referee. They called him Lil Nate for a long time. I wish somebody would reference that on current wrestling, but nobody ever does. So anytime I see him, especially in this era, I'm like, oh shit, the real Lil Nate in the building. So did you ever hear that shit? Ever call it Lil Charles Robinson, Lil Nate?
I've heard that before, and I actually saw the clip of it was a picture of him in the robe, I think, or something like that.
Yes, hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was pretty funny because Charles Robinson back then did have that toxic blonde hair and things like that, like Nate. So it worked pretty funny. It was a pretty funny wrestling
swag fit. It was very much in this era. Austin Powers, that movie was very popular. So having a mini anything was a very popular thing, and mini me's was the end at that in this stage in time. So having a little mini Ric Flair, who's soon to happen in the future, always cracks me up when I see that dude, especially when he's fresh on the scene like he is right now. But overall, the match was great. I thought it was a pretty solid match. It was typical cruiserweight fare, lots of flipping around, lots of quick, fast movements, lots of aerial attacks. But at the end of the day, Yuji Nagata ends up putting him in the arm bar and make him tap out, basically, Ronda Rousey style. What was your thoughts, Sean? Anything that really stuck out of you on this match?
Cruiserweight wrestling, number one. I love cruiserweight wrestling, especially ECW, WCW cruiserweight wrestling. Which is basically what this is right here.
Yes.
That's my shit. I love it. So Ultimo Dragon, I got introduced to WCW specifically this time period as well through the Nintendo 64 video games. So playing as all the cruiserweights and all that stuff, I loved Ultimo Dragon and things like that. So that's what mainly stuck out in this match. And I did not expect Yuji to go over. which was very surprising to me.
Really?
But,
tell me more about that. Why did you not expect Yuji Nagata and his umpire vest go over in this match?
I would have number one. I would say is ignorance because I have no clue who Yuji Nagata or Sony Ono is. I did not watch them.
All
I don't
good.
want to pretend like I know them. So
it's all right.
Yeah, at the time, but now I know. When I did my research and backstory, now I understood. Sonny Ono, who he was, and things like that. But yeah, that was just a little bit of it, just ignorance, not knowing who they are.
Oh
basically.
yeah,
I know, but
it's expected. You got the Quantum Leap and BA here to lead us through all of these treacherous waters,
exactly.
So it's all good.
Yeah.
But no, Yuji Nagata was a great worker. A lot of his stuff was overseas, New Japan, is where he made his name. There's a point in time where he has a crazy U.S. title run. It's pretty fire. But yeah, Yuji Nagata was a very, very good worker in my opinion. From what I only had the WCW lens in on him, but I know he worked a lot in New Japan just from reading Pro Wrestling Illustrated and stuff as a kid, and would see that stuff. They panned to the flock, Raven's flock, walking through the crowd.
I saw that.
Yeah, I was about to say this is back in the day when Billy Kidman was like basically a basehead, so to speak, scratching himself, like Tyrone Biggums from Chappelle's Show, basically type shit. And they used to go. They would sit in the crowd. For people that weren't watching the product at the time or never went back and saw kind of how the flock would move, they would come into matches through the crowd and just sit and watch the match and kind of talk shit with the crowd. They would have signs like you saw Stevie Richards had a sign in the crowd.
I love Stevie Richards.
But yeah, the OG flock, Raven, Billy Kidman, Stevie Richards, and Saturn. But it starts to inflate with other people over time. A lot of like you said, a lot of ECW guys will start to come in to the product at this time, and usually will kind of float through the flock or have feuds with the flock typically. But I pop for that. Always loved the flock. Seeing Billy Kidman do shooting star presses and shit as a kid, wild, because nobody was doing that shit at the time. Billy Kidman was probably one of my favorite cruiserweights at this moment, but he ain't on this card, so fuck Billy Kidman. I'm just playing. Next up, we go into a Disco Inferno promo backstage at the WCW internet table. Yeah, guys, internet was not always at the palm of our hands. So when the 900 hotline started to go away, when the internet became more of a prevalent thing, they would have these dudes. I'm sure y'all seen like the gifs and memes of like Shawn Michaels like poking at a computer like he's archaic and shit like that. They prop these dudes up in the back so people could go in chat rooms and talk to their favorite wrestlers and shit like that. I never did that because again, parents that are already paying for pay-per-views, and if I would just start running up the internet bill and tying up the phone lines, because that was another thing we had to do. Shout out to my peeps that know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. My parents would have whooped my ass if I was tying up the phone line to be chatting with Disco Inferno about the TV title. Did you ain't have much history with this, Sean? Outside of, I remember you told a story on the Night of Champions episode about your pops thinking there was some an actual contest happening, but it was really all in kayfabe. But you never like went in chat room to talk to wrestlers, did you?
Hell no. I had experience with dial-up, tying up the phone lines, being on the internet and things like that. But hell no. I never called into that wasn't me.
For what, man?
Never tied up the phone doing that shit. Pointless. I'm not doing that shit.
Right. And we had Uncle Dave. No, I didn't. I was just playing. I wasn't paying for fucking what is he say? What was it? The Wrestling Observer? I wasn't paying for that shit.
Yeah, the Observer. Yeah, no, we're good. All that stuff. No, props to them. They're all good. Fightful, Dave.
But back in this day, it was just Uncle Dave.
Oh yeah, the Observer back in the day.
And he would have a subscription service for the Observer, one in which I was lucky to get a Pro Wrestling Illustrator WWF magazine and take it home, and them bitches wasn't cheap.
I did do the WWE magazines though, the SmackDown Raw magazine.
Oh
and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I did do those. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's shout out to Vince Russo. That's the only thing I feel like he did right in wrestling was write the magazines, WWF and the Raw magazines. He was the main person in charge of writing all those stories and shit. As a kid, used to love that shit. Cause I always had I never got a subscription, but anytime I was in the grocery store, you best find me in the magazine aisle, reading wrestling articles for sure.
Facts.
So now we go into match number 2, which was not a planned match.
Unadvertised.
Yeah, unadvertised match. It just happened. We had at this point in time, I'd say we're about to get into the man of 1,001 holds. He's still Lionheart. He's about to start healing out. Yeah. As far as Monday Night Jericho, shit like that.
He's still babyface as fuck right now.
Yeah, but Chris Jericho versus his former tag team partner, one of his former tag team partners, and also foe from his New Japan days, Gedo. Gedo. Let me clarify that, Gedo. But yeah, man, Ghetto's a legend over there. Him and Jericho have a lot of history, like I said. So they needed to fill this card in, and no better guy than to use Chris Jericho, who at this point in time in his career, I know it's hard to believe the influencer and all the other 30 reiterations of Jericho that he's had to be the man that he is, had a time getting on a card like this. I know, and Sean, I don't know if you know a lot of this stuff or not, but he had a very rough relationship with Eric Bischoff at this era of WCW. Eric Bischoff was all about the NWO, did not really give a fuck about anything else getting on TV because it was so over, as we can tell by this card. As we get into it, very NWO centric card because it is 1997. These dudes are running it. They are doing better than WWF at the time, so they're rolling with what works, basically. With that all said, so Jericho had to fight a lot, and that's why a lot of the stuff he did was so people wanted him on TV to be all the creative shit, the Monday Night Jericho shit, Man of 1,001 Holds. My guy, the security guard he would have around with him, was it Rufus? What was my guy's name? He used to have when he was feuding with Goldberg, he used to have his own security that would wear like a cutoff shirt, and he was like real out of shape, and it was like the gimmick, like, and make fun of Goldberg. It's killing me, I can't think of his name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But yes, that was this is what Jericho was doing. So I think I say that to say, like, him going through this type of stuff early in his career, and you Jericho lovers can attest that are listening, made him the great superstar, sports entertainer, pro wrestler that he will trademark and tell you he is today, so he can make sure he's getting $1 off of that. And much respect to him.
He is. Fuck yeah, hell yeah. Props to Chris Jericho, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And props to him for not breaking his neck as well in this match.
Holy shit, bro. When I saw that, okay, so I know they're very close and wrestling partners because they got roots in Japan, him and Guido, and then they got 2 others as well that role with Guido. But my God, they are very trusting in each other to do some of the shit that they attempted to do in this match, bro. Some of the high flying over the top rope kicks to the face, and then the Frankensteiner I think it was a Frankensteiner or a Hurricane Rana, I can't remember, off the top rope.
Yes,
looked like Chris Jericho almost broke his neck.
Yeah, it was a Frankensteiner for sure.
Yeah, like it looked like when he came down, his neck snapped. I legitimately thought the match was going to end at that, bro. So props to Chris Jericho for, surviving that. But holy shit, man. That was scary. Yeah. That was scary.
He did break his nose or got a bloody nose. My bad, he didn't break his nose. But if that's the worst thing that happened after a spot like that, all day. And even more so, little trivia fact, Chris Jericho has never gone back to watch this match because of that spot. He said he can't watch it. It's in his I think his first book that he wrote. He said he can never go back and watch that spot because of just how bad shit could have went, which is understandable. I had to be some scary shit I'm sure everybody in the back was like, yo, that was wild. And he was just like, nope, I don't want to see it. Glad I'm here on the Nitro. But yeah, never seen the match, Sean. It's just wild. But yes, as far as what happens in the match after the botch, basically, Frankensteiner, they have a pretty.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah, they had a banging ass match, and then from there they went about. Jericho threw him in the Lion Tamer, ended it typical Jericho fashion. Match was like 7-8 minutes long. Nothing crazy.
Pretty short.
Yeah.
Pretty short. But that's why it was so fast paced, because like I said, Jericho could fucking go at this point, and then Guido could also fucking go. And like they have that much chemistry that they had to fit so many moves in to fill this time and to make it exciting and things like that for, you know, less than 10-minute match.
Right.
It was pretty dope.
Pretty
dope for it.
And
pretty dope. And yeah.
I was just going to end with the fact that they were using his Y2J theme on this card in the Peacock version, just because they can't. Like, WWE kills me with the what we'll pay for and not pay for as far as Peacock old events. WCW and ECW is so egregious, and this show's a great example of that. I'm like, dude, give me the old school Lion Tamer theme. Like, I don't want that. Give me Lionheart theme. I'm sorry. Y2J is synonymous with WWE Jericho. Like, it's just kind of disrespectful for them to do that. I'd rather just have him walk out silently if that's the case. That's what's
WWE is synonymous for, trying to edit the past, bro. Like, anything you see on the cock right now is not 100%. Anything you see right now, bro, is not 100% of what happened in the past, man. A lot of that shit is cut, edited. Music is different.
It's aggravating,
noises
bro.
are in. Like, there was a good example where I think it was a Royal Rumble where Lex Luger defeated or eliminated Hogan, and they piped in a crowd like chant or boos or something, but the crowd went crazy in real life.
Oh yeah,
like, it's insane. Like,
even in retroactive, Hogan that doesn't work for Hogan. Even going back in the past, that's insane. The pull that man has.
Yeah, man, that shit sucks.
They call me the Quantum Leaper. That's a Quantum Leaper move I ever seen one, man. That's wild, bro.
Fuck
wild
Hulk Hogan.
Shit. Yes, fuck Hulk Hogan, indeed. We're gonna see a lot of that man on this card, more ways than one. But next match,
all right,
we go right into probably. I'm not even like trying to be funny. The best match WCW has ever put on a pay-per-view, in my opinion. This era of WCW, 90s WCW. Cruiserweight Championship, mask versus belt. You got the champ, Eddie Guerrero, the only guy, in my opinion, that's allowed to drape a title over his shoulder. Not you, Roman Reigns, or anybody else that does it. No, nobody does it like Eddie. Versus the Phantom, Rey Mysterio Jr. Man, did this match bring back some feels, and even more so to tie it into today, outside of Rey still wrestling. I don't know if you played a 2K game, Sean, or not, but last year's edition of 2K had Rey Mysterio on the cover. The very first match, if you go through the story mode with Rey, is this match. Like, going through all the motions of this match. And boy, man, so many crazy spots in this match. But even crazier as far as the lead up to this match, Eddie had just won the Cruiserweight title off of Jericho like a month before this on Nitro. And in winning it, he just was like, I'm going to fuck with Rey Mysterio Jr. To the point where they had a match where Eddie Guerrero was wrestling like a jobber, quote unquote, and had a mask on. I forget the name he was wrestling under, and he wrestled Rey Mysterio. And Rey beat him and snatched his mask off of him. And Eddie was pissed about that. And then like the next week, Rey was fighting somebody, had him in the Cobra Clutch. I want to say it was Dean Malenko maybe. And from there, Eddie snatched my man's mask off. He saw his face for like a hot second, but that was like the heat leading up to this match, basically.
Okay.
So with that being said, dudes get in the ring. Immediately, you can tell there's a lot of heat here. It was so much back and forth at different paces. I can't. I want to get nerdy, but I'm just like, there's no way to really get nerdy on this one because there's so much that happens in action. They tell such a beautiful story with their moves. It's wild.
It is, and that's a really good thing about Eddie Guerrero specifically. He's always been one to like really show his fucking emotion in his wrestling, bro.
Big time.
Like, he's a great storyteller. And watching him and Rey throughout the years just tell their story, because automatically there's, no matter what is going on, there's that core of a story, them just being that connected. And they're like, when we talk about wrestling soulmates, we've mentioned it a couple times, not just on this podcast, but even on the main one that y'all do. Wrestling soulmates, Eddie and Ray are like true wrestling soulmates. And that's like what makes this match part so well. And Eddie plays a heel great too. So those two together make just beautiful match. The high flying moves, the technicality, and then even there's a couple holes in transitions, just catch breath and move to the next segment of the match just naturally. But even at that, there's so much that goes on with the match, like you said. It would be hard to nerd out and get into every single technical aspect of it and things like that. You just got to watch it for yourself if you haven't, which most people that have watched or listening have probably watched this match.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're listening to the side pod of the main pod and you've never seen this match, cut this shit off immediately and go cut on the Peacock right now. Search Halloween Havoc. Fast forward. Don't watch the first two matches. Just watch this. Worth your time. Watch it again. Watch it twice. Shit.
DM me, I'll give you my account. I'll just give you the login.
Y'all heard the man at fourth rope. Hit him up. He might hook you up there. But yes, like I said, so much happened in this match. Rey Mysterio seemed to be like the king of the counters. Everything Eddie would do, Rey had a counter move for it. It seemed like that's how Rey was able to kind of overcome and get the pin on Eddie. He ends up beating Eddie and wins the title in this match. But Eddie did not go quietly. Eddie, at certain points in this match, tries to rip the mask off of Rey Mysterio. And if people have never seen this match or the outfit that Rey's wearing in it, it's all connected. It's like a bodysuit. And that shit looks crazy when he's trying to rip that mask off. As a kid, I even knew this match was fire. I didn't know it was going to be the best match I'd ever see from this company. But as far as what their main focus was with this match, like I knew, like watching it, like damn, this shit is crazy. Like I need to go cut on Revenge right now and just wrestle it, Eddie Guerrero and Rey, because I remember these are if you play WCW Revenge, these are the trunks Eddie Guerrero wears on that game. And Rey has about 5 or 6 different outfits he's wearing. Rey was still doing the crazy fits back in the day. But yeah, man, there's nothing that you can really pick apart and say was bad about this match. Everything was great from entrance to moving on to the next thing, man. Wish there was more I could say because there was so much. It deserves all the flowers. But
exactly.
It's kind of like one of those, the match, you need to go see it to really understand what we're trying to convey to you guys as far as this is probably the best thing they put out in this era of wrestling. And then also just take into consideration that this is better than the WWF at the time as far as ratings go. So take that for what it's worth. Speaking of taking it for what it's worth, Mean Gene Hotline Bling promo is what I called it. Mean Gene it seemed to me he was like begging for people to call in and all that kind of stuff. And then we go into from Mean Gene talking his shit, his Hotline Bling shit. We go to Eric Bischoff and Hogan having a traditional backstage like it's WrestleMania 4 promo. That's the one thing you can tell about this time frame in wrestling. Hogan and Kevin Nash kind of speaks to this too in different interviews, how this whole just heel thing was so weird for Hogan in the beginning. And the reason why it was so weird because he's used to like cutting promos a certain way. What's made him money. He's going crazy with the green screen behind him, basically, or some makeshift bullshit behind him. So this is just a promo, them talking shit, how Hogan ain't wrestling unless Sting ain't here and he got to get his conditions met. Typical NWO bullshit. This is just, and if y'all can believe it or not, this is at its infancy of the bullshit NWO was on, and it's and will continue to be on until the company's demise, pretty much. But that's really what this promo is. It's like an 80s style heel Hogan talking behind a green screen with Eric Bischoff about what they not about to do. Anything I'm leaving out, Sean, is pretty much the gist of what we saw.
That's it, bro. The Hogan stuff was a little weird with the heel, the Hollywood Hogan at first, and Eric Bischoff just seems out of place. I can't remember who explained it, but like he just seems like he's just rolling with the boys because he has the money and things like that.
Oh yeah,
and running the motorcycle, and it's nasty to see Eric Bischoff like this in the heel position behind Hogan, being like the little chicken shit, backing him up and all that over the green screen with the black and white effect, and then they fucked up and they hit the music late into the promo, so it just made it seem a little corny. Like I don't know, it's the little production value things that I noticed like that, bro. It's kind of weird.
No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
If you know, like that type of stuff, like, nah, bro, it's gonna stick out like a sore thumb. It's just, it is what it is. Like,
if you go back and watch it, you'll notice immediately what I'm talking about because it's just awkward silence at first with them just moving around and Hogan like fucking like
doing his pose,
muscling up and shit like that.
Yeah.
It's weird, but yeah, you pretty much hit everything. That's it.
Yeah, man. Like it's just like it's a heel promo, but he's doing babyface stuff because that's what he's always done in his career. Pose and what you're gonna
eat your
do.
vitamins, and say your prayers, brother, and shit like that. Yeah,
a bunch of those types of vibes. But moving on, match number 4, Steve Mongo McMichael.
Fuck.
Oh shit! That all fuck set it off, folks.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be okay. I'm not. I'm trying to. Not,
no, you're good, bro. You say what you feel here, man. It's an open space. You be protected here. You good.
Introduce the match.
Yes, versus Alex Wright, who was a special, was a secret opponent of his, because at the time his wife ? As far as what's happening at this point in kayfabe, Queen Deborah, she is not happy with Mongo telling her what she can and cannot do with his money. Look at hey guys, time frame. Don't get mad at me. Don't kill the messenger. This is the type of shit people were talking about in the 90s. And she was like, I'm gonna use his credit cards. I'm gonna do what I want because I'm Queen Deborah and I'm a terrible actor. Yes. So we go from there. The person she picks to fight in her honor, Das Wunderkid. Alex, I'm gonna create the hunch before Jeff Hardy writes. History. I gotta know this. How familiar are you with Alex Wright and the legend that is Das Wunderkid and his EDM dance moves that he brought to the States?
So when he first came, first of all, I'm gonna preference this where I have no clue who this man is.
Oh, nice.
Nice. When he first came out, he walked out and I'm like, all right, he's got a jacket on. It's like just generic red trunks. He reminded me of old boy from Rocky. Fucking the dude from Rocky. I don't remember the guy's name, but the boxer.
Drago?
Drago. He reminds me of like a skinny ass Drago.
I give you pre-steroid Drago vibes.
He reminds me on some a skinny ass Drago that does a Disco Inferno impression when he first came out. That's what it kind of hit me off as.
Funny. It's funny you bring up Disco, Sean. Because
did not fuck with it at all.
Probably the biggest thing him and I'd say even Disco Inferno did. These guys feuded for a while. They had a feud. I'm sure you can see that happening. But they became tag team partners, and you had these two idiots dancing, and people loved that shit, bro. People ate it. I'm sure you saw the crowd. Don't act surprised. You saw the crowd. There's nothing but Caucasians dancing off beat, and to him and Disco. When we see Disco, like, it's fucking terrible.
That makes more sense. Okay.
I remember those guys going after the tag team titles pretty fiercely. It was either right before the NWO came, or about to be right after this. But yeah, they had a very popular tag team. I don't even know if they had a special name for it. It was just Disco and Alex Wright, basically.
Hopefully they didn't. Hopefully not. That sounds like an ass tag team in my opinion.
We gonna have to watch a Disco and Alex Wright match one day. But more importantly, Steve Mongo McMichael, R.I.P. He passed away a couple years ago, if not a year ago, from ALS. I believe was the unfortunate, ugly disease that took him away from us. But Mongo was a national treasure. We didn't know was a national treasure during his active wrestling career. If any of you guys are on Twitter or have a YouTube account, I'm sure you've seen the parody videos a couple years ago of people cutting up Steve Mongo McMichael's matches and the ridiculous things he would do in these matches. Let's just say Mongo wasn't the most polished worker. He has all sorts, and this match isn't his most. It's probably some of his better work. You know,
this is the best match I saw.
Yeah, I'm saying after, and to give y'all a little peek behind the curtain, people. I told Sean as we kind of talked through these shows and stuff throughout the week. I'm like, hey, have you ever heard of like the Mongoisms and shit like that? He's like, oh no. I'm like, just go YouTube or Twitter and you tell me what you find and report back. He was just like, oh shit, this is god awful. But the thing about Mongo, and this is why I love that we can make fun of him, and he's passed, but it's still not disrespectful. Is Mongo was making fun of himself too. He knew he was bad, but what made it dope was that he kept trying. He didn't like just say fuck it, I quit. He kept coming back. Also, the fact that hey, if I'm in he was in the Four Horsemen. Which at the time was like the C stable because of what was happening in WCW with the NWO and everything else. So it wasn't cool at this point in time to be a horseman by any means. He was getting your ass whooped on a weekly basis after July of 1996 if you was wearing a Four Horsemen shirt. Ask Ric Flair. He still brings up how he was booked and how mad he is about it. Go listen to that podcast and hear him be angry about that. But
he's always fucking angry.
Oh yeah, he be finding all sorts of stuff to get mad about, man. He typical angry boomer, man. That's all I can just say. Typical angry boomer zoomer. But regardless, Mongo was always cool and thought it was funny that he was the butt of these jokes. He didn't care. He was proud to have gotten to wrestle. He was happy he had those moments in his career. Hell, I don't think I told you this, Sean. The man was a U.S. champion at a point in time. He held the U.S. title. Yes, Steve Mongo McMichael was a U.S. title. I'm just throwing all sorts. This whole card, I feel like, just like how are these people U.S. champions? Usually Nagata, fucking Steve Mongo McMichaels, WCW in the 90s, bro.
Nagata, I get. McMichaels, Mongo, like, don't get me wrong, bro. When I first watched this, when I first skimmed across this card, my first watch through, I noticed the match and the dude just looked awkward. Then I actually watched it and I'm like, oh, okay, you're kind of ass at wrestling.
Oh. And
then when you showed me and told me the YouTube stuff and I went through it, I was devastated when I saw some of the content of this man's matches. And and when you said he was belted up, that's very surprising. I thought that would be like jobber level type shit. Like, hey, Mongo was bad. Like football, great.
Oh yeah, great defensive tackle. Great
wrestling, like Ronda Rousey level of stay away to me.
That's a great, that's a great parallel to draw. Ronda Rousey. He was it's very much divides because when he came in with another football player named Kevin Green. Kevin Green and Mongo were also involved in stuff in WWF at the time in 1995 because WrestleMania 11 happened and Lawrence Taylor, was the main event attraction that year against Bam Bam Bigelow. If you guys remember, if you've never watched that show, there was a stable of NFL players that came out with Lawrence Taylor. Steve Mongo McMichael was one of them, and Kevin Green was one of them. So that's how those guys got introduced to wrestling. There's even like some Raws out there where leading up to that pay-per-view, WrestleMania 11, where Mongo was commentating during matches in WWF. So it's pretty wild shit. I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere. But I say that to say these guys were already introduced to us as wrestling viewers at this time, so it wasn't completely out of the realm for Steve Mongo McMichael to come over to WCW because we saw him in WWF helping out Lawrence Taylor against Bam Bam Bigelow. So yeah, bro, crazy. There was a big advocate of trying to get celebrities and shit into the product as much as they could, as we'll see later, definitely in WCW with the Rodzilla and Karl Malone and all these other guys getting involved when this shit really, really takes off as far as popularity. But yeah, man, Mongo, that's how Mongo came to our hearts and our wrestling lives, basically. But back to the actual match. The match wasn't a complete stinker. After we talked so much shit about these two dudes, you would think that this is probably the worst match on the card. Surprisingly,
It's
it's
not.
not. It is not.
It's not.
It's not. We even get an appearance from pre-winning streak Bill Goldberg. I say Bill Goldberg because we were not calling him Goldberg at this time. Bill probably had about 5 matches up until this point on TV.
Less than 10. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were just this is like the origin story of what's about to be coming, because as in this match when he interferes, also when he interferes, how fucking long was he in the ring? And Charles Robinson had no idea. He even bumps into him at a point in time when his back is turned and Deborah's on the is on the ropes talking to him. He's in the ring for like a solid 30 seconds. Like, and Charles Robinson is completely oblivious to it. So that was my biggest gripe with this match, was just, and it's not even involving the wrestlers. It's Charles Robinson not selling the fact that, hey, I saw him bump into you. You gotta turn around, bro. Like, I know you're trying to keep Queen Deborah out the ring, but this shit makes no sense at all. So that really fucking bothered me about this match.
It would bother me if, like, I was really nitpicking, but we're talking about Goldberg at this point. Less than 10 matches in, Goldberg's fresh out of football. Dude's not a wrestler, so I'm not gonna expect him to have all the timing and shit down perfectly, and the movements right. So I mean, at this point, Goldberg is do a couple moves, smash a couple people, pause, and then 1, 2, 3, and get out the fucking ring.
Yep.
In my opinion, so not much to be had with Goldberg. I am grateful that he ended this fucking match though, because
very abruptly.
Like I said, it's not the very abruptly, but not the worst match, but still very glad Goldberg stepped in, because
it was perfect timing, because if this would have went longer, we would have seen some Steve McMichael shit start happening. He kept it together. He just was basically had to just hold his ground in this match. It wasn't a ton of offense going on for him to be throwing at Alex Wright, and Alex Wright was more on the offensive anyway. But match ends because of interference. Alex Wright wins because of the fact that Goldberg came in and speared. He jackhammered Steve McMichael. Went outside to the ring, and Queen Deborah paid him his pittance. Shout out to Kevin Nash, which was a 1985 Super Bowl ring, because
Chicago Bears Super Bowl ring.
Yeah, because we just walk around with our Super Bowl rings at wrestling events that we're wrestling in. So, and then from there, Goldberg was proceeded to get congratulated by Alex Wright for holding him down. Goldberg don't have friends. He proceeds to fuck up Alex Wright as well, and goes to the back with this newly earned Super Bowl ring. Not in the slightest as far as football play goes, but he earned it by doing the job. Crazy match just as far as like what didn't happen and things that should have happened, but hey, it could have been way fucking worse. So we're gonna just sneak right up out of there onto the next.
Yeah, let's just move on. No need to stay any further.
Nah, dog. We're gonna leave that stank in that room and move to the next one of the Macho Man promo. Macho and all his Macho Manness, with Miss Elizabeth next to him. Not together in real life like they were their whole time when she was on his arm, basically. But hey, professionals doing business, you would never be able to tell. So typical Macho greatness in this promo. Nothing that I can really take away from. Again, just like Hogan, he's used to that old school promo style in the back, so they're not gonna change it, even though these guys are both heels. Next match, probably the worst match of the card, I'd say. Match number 5. This is a non-title match. The card is littered with non-title matches, by the way. For a pay-per-view, it's weird to me. But regardless, we have Disco Inferno, the TV champ, randomly fighting Jacqueline. At this time, Harlem Heat's manager. Don't understand why they fought. Upon my research of going back, there was literally just a quick encounter between the two. Eric Bischoff thought that this is a good way to I don't know what other word to use, fuck over Disco Inferno. And to give y'all a little history on that, why I say that is because Disco was not trying to have this match. In fairness, I low-key can't blame him for what was happening at the time. as far as intergender interactions in the ring and what those are doing to the male side of the equation. Because you had Mark Mero and Sable down the dial, and you had, with that happening, you had a female that's never been in the ring. It's obvious she's never been in the ring.
Very.
Power bombing dudes, if I remember correctly, or doing power bombs and doing all sorts of moves, and Mark Mero looking like a simp in that process, and that legitimately killed his push, because nobody was going to want to lose to that guy on TV. And it makes
I think he's even talked about that. Yeah, I think he's even talked about that, or there's been conversations where that literally killed his career.
Oh yeah, Stone Cold said it as much. I remember Stone Cold was saying, like, they were supposed to, him and Mark Mero were supposed to have a feud. He's like, I'm not fighting some dude that's fighting. I'm not gonna get booked against a guy that's getting booked against women. Like, that's gonna do nothing for me, type stuff.
Nothing at all.
Correct. So
it's not gonna work, brother.
Not at all. So I think with all that being said, and we haven't had Jeff Jarrett versus China yet, Disco was legit frayed. Like, I get it. Like, it's hard. Your gimmick is Disco Inferno. Like, what are y'all trying to do to me? Like, so I get it. I completely get where he's got gobbledygookers vibes all over him. So, a red rooster, I should say. Both of them terrible things that happen in wrestling, as far as gimmicks go. But that's what he's thinking of as he's telling Eric Bischoff, to quote Hulk Hogan, that doesn't work for me, brother. But it worked enough because Eric Bischoff probably threatened his job and said, if you don't go out there and take this pin, you might as well not show up on Monday. Disco put on his business face, went and did the job.
He did the job. In fact, and props to Disco, bro, on this one, because like you said, with his gimmick, what are you trying to achieve with this match?
That's what I'm saying.
Like, it's literally just a filler time waster and fucks up his image even more. I mean, maybe it helps her out in the slightest, but other than that, man, he did the best with what he could. Not even like Disco Inferno from.
Yeah, and honestly, bro, this is another reason why this is the worst match on the card. It did nothing for Jackie. This is her last match in WCW. We don't see Jackie on our TVs again until next year in 1998. Feuding with Sable and Mark Mero, funny enough. So yeah, she's gone after this match. Also, I don't know if you noticed or not, wardrobe malfunction during this match. Did you peep it?
No, I didn't. What was it?
We didn't see it on TV, but listen to the commentary. You hear Dusty and Tony Schiavone are like, whoa, whoa, and the crowd like reacts to it. And you can see Jacqueline readjusting herself. And you're like, oh shit, that makes sense.
That sucks.
Yeah, so she had a titty pop out during
that Janet.
The spot, right, during the spot she was doing against Disco. So you pervs out there, go check it out. No.
What did he say on that last pay-per-view? Pause, rewind, fast forward, pause.
Yes,
rewind,
exactly. In the words of JR, rewind, fast forward, play, pause. You're welcome. Also, at the end of this match, I had to take a note of this, bro. Go back and rewind it. Like, even after recording this, you got to see this. When she's walking out, there's dudes copping feels on her, like trying to grab her boobs as she's walking back to the back. Bro, I'm like, yo, that's like sinister. Like, why are these dudes?
Shit.
It's wild. Like, you see two guys like try to grab a handful right then and there. It's pretty wild.
Surprised she didn't swing, honestly.
I think she probably should. If she knew, she probably didn't know it was her last day. I know she probably would have if she knew she was leaving. But yes, Jackie ends up winning this match. She won it just off of a roll up, off of a move that Disco missed. Yeah, it was a very weird match. Not a fan. Did nothing for anybody. Eric Bischoff should, I hope, send Disco Inferno and Jacqueline a Christmas basket every year, because that was some bullshit. But on to the next one though. This is a grudge match of sorts. Here comes NWO music nonstop on this card from here on out. We have the U.S. champion, Mr. Perfect, not defending his title in this match against the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. Now, the history in this match is in the Fall Brawl pay-per-view the month before, Kurt Hennig was a horseman. And, you know, typical fucking NWO fashion, somebody's turning. Oh, look, it's Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig turning. And at a point in that match, they take Ric Flair, sit him outside the ring, and smash his head in the door. So that's where all of this started. So there was a reason for them to be so hot at each other. And then on the Nitros after that, this is what I remember this one as a kid, or when Mr. Perfect took Ric Flair's robe and brought it as like tribute to Hulk Hogan, basically. Like, this is what I bring you, sir. And they look at that shit and they start cutting the sleeves off and just completely making a mockery out of Ric Flair.
Oh my God.
Like I said, Ric Flair is not happy about this part of his career. I low-key can't blame him because they shit on everything he stands for. I think this was kind of personal in my opinion. Boy, Bischoff was booking him at this time, but this sleeveless Ric Flair robe bit sticks out in my mind. Like, that shit is burned into it, of hilarity from how this all happened and how they were embarrassing this man that used to be the flagship wrestler for WCW before the NWO started printing money, basically. I know, Sean, you kind of gave me some thoughts about this match. You weren't too high on it, so tell me a little bit more before I just completely just talk all over this match, because this is my shit, so to speak.
I know this is your shit. Like I said, I've never been a big Ric Flair dude, but watching the match, you know, you could tell the heat that Ric Flair and the story that he was trying to tell, coming out hot with the entrance.
Oh yeah, no styling, profiling. My man ran out
straight to business, bro. Straight to business. Whoop the dog shit out of Kurt Hennig to the point of having to call. I don't know. Did he get DQ'd or was it a 5 count that he called? I can't remember. Because he ends up hitting the ref. He's got him tied up in a tree. Well, ends up hitting the ref and just starts beating the dog shit out of Kurt Hennig. Like, great storytelling. Not that much of a match, but as far, I would call it more of like a segment, honestly. Great storytelling. I really love it.
Oh yeah,
I really loved it.
Definitely, like you said, great story that was told. Ric Flair definitely got the DQ through not listening to the ref to stop the 5 count hold, as you stated. One thing that you probably didn't notice in this match, because they were trying to hide it, so you would have known it if you looked it up, but Kurt Hennig is not holding the WCW US title when he comes down to the ring. He asked Rey Mysterio if he could walk out with the Cruiserweight title for some forsaken reason. I don't know why, but yeah, he's not holding the US title in that match. And that spot when they put the belt over Ric Flair's face and he's about to like baseball slide kick him, turn the camera away on purpose so you can't tell it's not the US title. Go back and watch it.
I saw the belt. I didn't realize it wasn't the U.S. title at that point, so that was an interesting.
Yeah, you would never notice it. Just if you let you really zeroing in, trying to see like the old U.S. title, because it looked completely different than reiterations that WWE did. But yeah, they just kind of tried to just show like because on the Cruiserweight title you can see the WCW nameplates on it, so that was the only thing they were trying to show, because if they showed the front of it, people knew, because the US title in that time low-key iconic. Like that title, the TV title, and Big Gold all kind of look distinctive. In my opinion, all the other titles look the same to me. They all kind of had the same aesthetic, same vibe.
Understandable.
So, but
I'm a big Gold advocate, so yeah.
Same. You already know. We've talked many times about Big Goldie, but yeah, not the U.S. title he had in that match. So after Ric Flair gets the DQ, he beats the shit out of some refs, and of course, NWO comes down to do NWO shit. You have the likes of Virgil. Shout out to the Meat Sauce Menace himself, along with K-Dog Conan, coming out to the ring to further beat the shit out of Ric Flair and get their boy Kurt out the ring, basically. That's how this match ends. I mean, I'm cool with it because I understand why it happened. Ric Flair was so mad he didn't give a fuck about letting Hogan go. He just wanted to whoop his ass.
Didn't give a shit.
Right.
Bro.
So I get it from a storytelling perspective, but from a grudge match perspective, I thought the ending was low-key cheese. But 97 WCW, if the NWO members involved, there's got to be some crazy fucking interference. It's what it is. Always was with these dudes.
Always. That's NWO.
Yep, that's how they roll. But another non-title match, so it doesn't even matter because there was no DQ. So then we get more promos. We get Macho sitting down at the internet table, talking about the intranets. Didn't really talk about anything. He was stuttering over his words, so Macho might have had some shots, possibly. Might have walked out into the casino at the MGM, baby. Ripped a couple shots of Jack and walked into the wrestling, the internet area of the venue. And then we get a promo at the top of the aisle from JJ Dillon, who at the time was coming back to be the enforcer figure of WCW. Roddy Piper is that person until JJ came back. JJ got beat up by the NWO because NWO. And when he got beat up, Roddy Piper stepped in to take his place. So JJ's just telling Eric Bischoff, who comes out, that Hogan will wrestle tonight. He will be fighting Roddy Piper. Don't care what you got to say. He even got it notarized, he tells Bischoff. And we go on then from there to the next match. More NWO fodder. This will be Scott Hall versus Lex Luger with Larry the Cruncher Zbyszko as the special guest referee. So the backstory behind this match. This is also some fall brawl fallout. There was a tag match involving these two. Outsiders versus Lex Luger. And I forget who Lex Luger's partner was, but it's irrelevant for this match. Larry Zbyszko wasn't calling it down the middle, according to Scott Hall, and they had a little fisticuffs, so to speak, after the match. And Larry Zbyszko sits on commentary typically. And if you go back in time since the NWO showed up in '96, Zbyszko, Shivani, Dusty, the guys that are in Tenay are pretty much all floating around commentary right now. These dudes get so angry. Like, I bought it as a kid. Like, they really hate these motherfuckers. Like, they talking out of turn. Like, and they was cussing, saying "damn it" when Hulk Hogan would turn and shit. Go to hell, they said on time. Like, yo, they've never heard commentators talk like this. So. So with that being said, Larry Zbyszko was so fed up he wanted to become a referee because he got sick of the constant interfering by these dudes. So here we are, Larry Zbyszko still doing his ref thing. Special guest ref in this Lex Luger and Scott Hall match now. Number one thing that stuck out to me, man, called a great match. It's straight down the middle. Oh God,
absolutely, absolutely. There was that one instance at the end. He gave a couple. I'd say a second or two before he called that 3 count. Other than that, it was a straight down the middle match.
Fair enough. And then, I mean, Scott Hall did throw a toothpick in his eye to start the match, so he had to get him back at some point.
Well, Scott Hall is also a bitch ass nigga, so you don't. It's at this point, that's pretty much his shtick. Like, he's an asshole, bro. So
correct.
I don't know what you really want to say.
You're right. That's the shtick. And he wore it in world.
He even got he's so much of an asshole. If you go back, he even got a spare toothpick in his hair. But he got one in his mouth. He got a spare toothpick just in case.
I don't know if you guys out there when you were kids, or even now today when you go to your local restaurant and they have the toothpick holder there. I always grab one, put one in the mouth, one in the ear, just like my homie, especially since he passed away. R.I.P. Scott Hall. One of my favorites growing up. Just because of the way he sold his stuff as a heel, especially in this era of him. But give you some more background around NWO versus the world, essentially, at this time. There was only like 3 guys really fighting the fight against the NWO at this point in time. People haven't turned. You have Roddy Piper, who we're going to talk about a little later. Sting is, nobody knows where he exactly stands, if he's in or out.
At this point.
Right. You got Lex Luger, who's still fighting a good fight. And then basically the remaining members of the 4 Horsemen. You got Ric Flair, Arn Anderson when he's not hurt or about to retire. Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit. That's pretty much it. And Mongo.
And Mongo. Don't forget about old Mongo.
God forbid. But that's what a lot of this shit was at this point in time. And pretty much to like 99, late 98 when Bret Hart arrives. It's just pretty much like these core WCW guys. And DDP, you can include DDP in there too. Just fighting the NWO. And NWO, this so many people, so many numbers, and beating up on these 4 or 5 WCW guys pretty much. Pretty wild, bro. But as far as your thoughts on this match, before I kind of get into my take on it, bro, what was your thought? Was this one of the more better matches, or was this kind of like, man?
In my personal opinion, because I don't really enjoy Lex Luger's wrestling style.
Understood.
It's a kind of a mess. Scott Hall's heel work and selling and things like that makes it a little better, plus the story overall. But and then with the false finishes, him calling the match back because fucking Six's interference.
Yep.
That added a little bit to it, but Lex Luger brings it down significantly for me. No disrespect to him.
No, man.
I just don't fuck with his style, to be honest.
I can't fault opinions, bro. That's what we here to do. We ain't here to try to agree and be right. We talk about what the fuck we feeling when we see it. And Lex Luger.
Hell yeah.
Lex Luger, I made a point made a note to say to bring up how much of a better in-ring entertainer Lex Luger was, like back in like the late 80s, early 90s, when he had a lot of feuds with Sting. That's when I feel like he was a better presentation. At this stage in the game, like post Lex Express, it's hard to buy into Lex. That kind of killed everything as far as like what he had going, because he couldn't even get the job done over there. So him coming back here at this point in time, I know he comes back when like Nitro starts. He comes back the very first episode of Nitro from WWF. And from there, bro, Lex Luger don't get tolerable to me until he joins NWO Wolfpack. And even then, I'm just talking character. He's still low-key boring in the ring, but everybody can't be high-flying, cross-bodying. Lex Luger, he's kind of just always been that power guy. You're not going to get those exciting-ass matches. Most you'll get is him fucking trying to break somebody in half over his shoulders in a torture rack, and the crowd going crazy for that shit.
I don't know. That's that 80s shit that people love, I guess. He's in one of those categories with red and gold Hulk Hogan that I don't understand the appeal in ring. I get it, but I don't personally like it. So that's one of the things that just kills it for me.
Yeah, it comes with the territory of, I'd say, like, he wasn't in it. That's just what it is. Like, I go back and watch like those older shows and try to figure out like why I like this shit. It's everything else they're doing. It's not the wrestling product. Wrestling product shit. It's more the stuff happening, the smoke and mirrors, so to speak, of the entrances, the colors. WWF was very fucking colorful. I was watching back last night. It's because I'm so pumped for SummerSlam in Detroit. I was watching the SummerSlam in Wembley, and I was watching that Austin Warrior Macho Man match on there, and I'm like, what is the fucking appeal of this? And I'm just sitting there watching, like, why would anybody want to watch this? This is not this okay match, but it was slow and plotty as shit.
29-minute match.
Yeah, but shit. But with that said, there's other matches on that card too, involving just like Crush, for example. Crush beat the shit out of, I believe, the Berserker. These are the type of shit I'm talking about. These people are like characters in comic books. They're not people that you can say, oh, that's so and so. Like, Crush looks like my 3rd grade teacher or something. Like, no, Crush looks like he came out of a comic book. So that's where I think that's why people like myself, or people that grew up watching that shit, can go back and be entertained by it. And I completely get why people from your age range are like, this is some bullshit. Why do people watch this? Because it's not really, I mean, at least the WWF product wasn't really wrestling. NWA, WCW, that really didn't deviate away from what you see in the low to mid card on these 90s shows. The WCW main events started to look like WWF bullshit because This Doesn't Work For Me Brother started not working for him, and he was involved in pretty much every main event until 99, 2000, basically. No, so, yeah, he came in hot, bro. Like, whenever you get a chance, go back and look at Hulk Hogan's WCW contract. This is why the jokes about That Doesn't Work For Me Brother and the shit he would pull and how much money he was making at the gate versus the rest of the talent, bro. This is why people hate Hulk Hogan. One of the many. So if you ain't black, you hate Hulk Hogan because he stole money basically from WCW. But that's a whole nother discussion. But with this Lex and Scott Hall match, like you said, was plottier. I mean, I was cool with it just because I don't mind watching Scott Hall, and I know the NWO bullshit was coming, and lo and behold, it was. So the way this match ends is we think that Scott Hall wins due to interference from good old Pac, and they start walking out. Larry Zbyszko. I've never seen refs do this. I wish they would do it more if this is what's happening.
He breaks the wrestling logic.
Yes.
He reviews the replay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
oh
like,
my God.
You never see this in wrestling. That's why I was like, well, since when? Because he's Larry Zbyszko. Run the tape. Run it. I want to see the tape. I'm like, bro, wait a minute. If that was the case, then we should have this. This should be happening all the time, especially in this WCW, where anytime you hear you guaranteed to see some fucking shenanigans. So why weren't we incorporating the red challenge flag, essentially what this rule is, in any other match? But regardless, we're not supposed to question. We're supposed to just watch it. Scott Hall and Six start running back. He starts doing the 10 count on Scott Hall. Scott Hall runs in the ring, immediately gets torture racked, immediately submits.
Immediately taps out.
Yes. And then Six comes in and decks the shit out of Larry Zbyszko.
And then everybody just gets their ass whooped.
Pretty much. Typical NWO beatdown. Nothing really much to say after that. If this is a star system, shout out to Uncle Dave and his the Wrestling Observer, I'd give it 2 stars probably, but I ain't gonna steal his gimmick. So with that being said, we go into a World War III promo, which is one of it became the November pay-per-view for WCW. I don't know if you've ever watched any of the World War IIIs. I'll explain it to you. It's 60 men Royal Rumble. Yeah, 60 dudes. I didn't know they had that many guys in their roster, but they do. And they bring them in from other entities as well, like New Japan and shit like that. But 60 guys, one ring, pure chaos. So that said, there's one that sticks out to me, bro. The World War III in 1995. Yeah, 95. Macho Man, because this one was for the WCW heavyweight title, big gold belt, and this is some Hulk Hogan shit, boy. So Macho Man ends up winning, right? So Hulk Hogan, who was eliminated, comes out and says, "I wasn't eliminated," and demands to wrestle Macho Man, if I remember correctly, or something of that nature. But he completely, just like he did at WrestleMania 4. Overshadows Macho Man winning the title because he's in the background bitching and complaining that he was never eliminated, even though he got eliminated. Definitely, like, at some point we're gonna have to do like just a Hulkamania, like a Hulkamania rewind deep dive just on the bullshit, because it's so littered throughout history, the 80s, 90s, 2000s, from WWF, WCW, WWE, Impact. And the weird shit he was doing overseas in Australia and stuff like that when him and Jimmy Hart had their own wrestling outfit. So yeah, bro, that's the number one World War III pay-per-view that sticks out of my mind. When I saw that commercial, I was like, oh, that's when Hulk Hogan again worked his creative control to fuck over Macho Man. Macho Man could never have any shine. But do you recall this pay-per-view at all? Does it stick out to you? Anything like that?
Hell no. Never watched them. I heard something about big ass battle royals, but I never knew it was a 60 man. That's
bro, that shit puts the greatest Royal Rumble to shame.
I didn't even know you had 60, well wrestlers on the WCW roster.
Oh, they didn't say just bodies, wrestlers. Hey, bro, you got a pair of tights. You got some wrestling boots. You
taking used car salesmen and janitors and suiting them up for a battle royal.
You want some free food and want to wrestle in a match and get thrown over a top rope? We got the perfect setup for you.
Take one bump. I got catering and $50 for you. That's it. Come suit up.
So with that said, after that promo for the upcoming World War III pay-per-view, we get into one of the best matches of the card, Las Vegas sudden death match. You got the Macho Man versus DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, master of the Diamond Cutter.
I love DDP.
Yes, sir.
My nigga, bro.
Straighten your back.
Love DDP.
Twist it up. Boom, drop it down, baby. But yes, and Macho Man accompanied by Miss Elizabeth, who was looking very milfish in this time frame, more than I thought. I was like, God damn, okay, Miss Elizabeth. Okay. A little different than them early days when I was a kid. I was like, all right.
She ain't dressed up in all that nice
man.
Shit,
she was trying to show the things. She was trying to get them things. The thing, if you understand what I'm saying.
She in the hoe phase. She in the famous hoe phase.
I was shocked. I didn't remember that one as a kid, but I remember
short
it now,
shorts
boy.
and chokers, everything.
I was shocked. Yeah. I was like, shit. Okay, Miss Elizabeth. I hate this. Is going back to the fucking Peacock and WWE. Diamond Dallas Page original theme music used to go so hard. He had a Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit beat behind it, but he'd be like self high five.
That his music was the
shit. Cheap ass WWE won't fucking pay Kurt Cobain to play that song. Some bullshit. Oh, it's a statement.
Let's stay away. When we reference DDP, we just have to make this a rule. We just can't reference DDP when he was in WWF.
Oh yeah.
They absolutely ruined my man.
I just remember, only thing I remember from that period of time was the weird Undertaker feud.
That's the only thing you remember.
And it was so bad.
That's exactly why that's the only thing you remember, because after that shit happened, he was killed. He got put in some tag teams after that. Like, I think he went for some mid-card shit, but he was done pretty much in WWE. That fucking killed him. Like, he was main eventer damn near in WCW, and they made him a weird stalker to Undertaker's wife and killed his career in WWF.
Made no sense.
Forever fuck WWF for what they did to DDP.
Oh yeah, forever fuck them for a lot of stuff they did to those WCW guys. Because and this is just more of you could argue about this in sports, like professional sports, basketball, football, hockey, whatever team sport. Whenever there's a new regime or whenever there's a player being brought in, people are more partial to that player if they weren't somebody that they picked. Meaning, because he's a WCW guy, to tie it into wrestling, Vince was like, oh, nah, dog, you got over there, and you old as shit. I know what to do with you. I'm gonna write you out of here. And right they did, boy, because at this period in time, 97, him and Macho Man were having some of the best matches on TV. They were voted, don't even ask me how I remember it, but I know it's true. In 1997, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, the feud of the year, 97 feud of the year. I think the reason I remember that is I remember seeing a picture with them two dudes holding a plaque up. But yeah, they had some crazy matches. Anytime you see DDP with bandaged ribs, watch the fuck out. That was the DDP when I would play Revenge as a kid. I always had DDP wear the jeans with the fucking bandaged up ribs. And that's probably why it's this match, because he's wearing the exact same look that he'd be rocking on Revenge in this match. But to the match itself, typical fucking fire Macho Man match. Macho Man so meticulous on how he plots out shit, how he goes through the motions in matches. You can tell that there, and then you got somebody like DDP who's just hungry to be good and get on. Because at this time, I don't think DDP's done anything more than hold the TV title or the US title a couple times. Back when he was really in the gimmick of being like this sleazy diamond cutter guy. When he was more in the cheesy era of his gimmick versus like the everyman tough guy he becomes. So yeah, there was that itself, just the pacing, and then when they take the match outside of the ring and the brutality starts to come, that shit is great. Nobody really overly dominates the other person. They kind of dish it out evenly in my opinion. There wasn't a lot of like one-sided offense either way. There would be like 5 to 6 minutes where Macho Man's beating the shit out of DDP. DDP recovers, starts doing the same shit to Macho Man. Outside of the ring, and they go to the graveyard of the set, back at the top of the ramp. You got these guys getting thrown through these makeshift tombstones and
fucking buffoonery, bro.
Right.
That shit
ridiculous.
is so funny.
And then
bro,
a certain point in time where DDP hits Macho Man over the head with the tombstone. Dusty Rhodes, God rest his soul. He was never my favorite on commentary, but when he could hit the spots appropriately, this is when he was fucking perfect. Bellissimo.
Perfect.
Mwah. Here's a line he has when Macho Man is like got the drunk legs, and he just got hit over the head with a tombstone, so he's selling the tombstone shot. So he starts walking around like he's gonna fall out. And Dusty Rhodes says, quote, "He got the wobbly legs. Look at him. He got the wobbly legs. Look at him, y'all. He got the wobbly legs." Dusty was going crazy on the mic, man. And then from there, they get back in the ring. Crazy spot with a camera. And fuck Tony Schiavone, by the way. Trying to say that camera cost $100,000. Kiss my ass. Not in 1997. Sean, you being more of the technical guy as far as like knowing sound equipment and camera costs. Now I know this wasn't no like fucking camcorder you go buy at Circuit City. Shout out to that period of time. I don't know if y'all remember Circuit City or not, but I do. That was like Best Buy back in the day. So there's no way they were walking in Circuit City buying a $100,000 camera and having multiple $100,000 camera. I mean, I know they were making money, but were cameras really that much in 1997, man, or am I tripping? So
did one exist for that much? Probably, but we also got to think about whose money we talking about, fam. This old Ted Turner's money. So
that's a good point.
That boy got some deep pockets. So can he afford it if it does exist? Absolutely. Is that camera $100,000?
To be determined.
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But it was a good spot. So good, good commentary, good selling it. Absolutely.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
And that fucking camera explodes in Macho Man's face. Pause. As he dropped DDP, like Macho Man act like he about to like go over his head with it while he's laying down. And DDP nips up and kicks that bitch right in the Macho Man's face. That shit just explodes in the air. Hilarious. Love when things get destroyed like that. Complete hilarity. Then from there, you got Miss Elizabeth getting involved. She fucking hits the referee over the head with like a glass like tray. Shit shatters. And then she starts getting in on the action on DDP. She gets the camera cord and starts choking out DDP. Hilarious. You never see Miss Elizabeth get physical ever. So it's always awesome to see that type of shit. And then we have Kimberly run out to the ring. And Dusty Rhodes, like a dude sitting at the end of a dive bar on a Wednesday night when he sees two chicks start going at it, starts just screaming, "Cat fight, cat fight, cat fight, cat fight, cat fight, y'all. Grab your drinks, cat fight." So him screaming that shit, man. completely hilarious. As Kimberly and Miss Elizabeth were fighting, crowd was going nuts. Crowd were eating this match up. Probably, I'd say the best reaction from the crowd all night was in this match, because of just everything going on in it, man. But fire ass match. I've been talking a lot about it. I feel like I've been stealing the thunder. No pun intended. Shout out to Macho Man's fire ass outfit in this match. That man
Facts.
was chilling like the Let Me Book boys when Manscaped was writing checks, and soon to be our other sponsors. Much respect to Macho. We love a good sellout. We are sellouts here. Pay us. Pay the men. Yeah, man. But as I go on this rant, what stuck out in this match to you, brother?
What stuck out to me, first of all, is DDP's wrestling. Love DDP's style. And then the fact that he started at such a late age, wrestling like in his 30s, things like that. Mm-hmm. At this point right now, I think he's been wrestling less than 10 years. So to be in this high of a stature, exactly, yeah, to be in this high of a stature of a match with Macho Man Randy Savage at one of the heights of WCW, beautiful to see. Just a straight good match, good storytelling. The commentary added a lot to it. Dusty Rhodes, like you pointed out a couple times, has added a lot of flavor to it and made those exciting moments. So that's really what stuck out to me in this match, was just the overall atmosphere. This one, I would say, is like WCW in a match. Just the whole atmosphere, the wrestling,
very
the
good
commentary,
analogy. Very fucking good analogy.
It's everything WCW is in a match. That's what I would show somebody.
Nah, bro, that's the perfect way to sum this shit up, because as we put a pin in this match, here we go, typical NWO shit, and here comes the Sting shenanigans, and boy oh boy, we about to talk about the Sting shenanigans. So we get Sting number 1 appearing. That's not Sting. So you're probably wondering, like, why am I referencing like these numbered Stings? Because throughout the rest of the night, you're gonna see people dressed up like Sting, not the man called Sting, coming out for the fact that they as far as like these different Stings for no reason at all. I don't understand why. But as they continue to come out, this is the first one. He comes out, hits Sting with the bat, or excuse me, not Sting. How's that gonna happen? That's stupid. So Sting hits DDP with the bat outside the ring. Seeing that this is a sudden death match, falls can count anywhere. DDP ends up just taking a 10 count, match over basically. From there, Macho Man goes nuts. Typical Macho fashion, starts beating the shit out of everybody. Continues to then grab the stretcher that DDP is getting put on because he got fucked up by fake Sting. And let me also put out there, I think this was a planned Sting. This is Hulk Hogan, I believe, according to Tony Schiavone. He was wearing
from
Hulk
the boots.
Hogan's boots. Yes, sweet Hogan. You too lazy to you can't even sell this gimmick. I'm not taking my boots off. The jacket will cover them. Yeah, sure. So, but regardless, this thing was definitely Hogan. But then from there, DDP's getting pulled out on the stretcher. Macho's going fucking crazy on him. Match ends from there. And I'm just gonna say it now, match of the night to me, bro. That's the main event. I can't even cap. That will not be the match of the night, but this, in my opinion, is.
I was hoping you didn't say that because you know how E-Ray doesn't like when people agree on a podcast together. So now I can't say nothing. So.
Oh shit! No,
right.
We'll get into it after the main event. But there's so much. There's other fire matches on this that you could say. But regardless, we keep it real, man. Sometimes we gotta agree, E-Ray. Don't kill us, bro. So with that said, match number 9. On to that, the main event. We got Michael Buffer in the ring. You know, anytime Michael Buffer is standing there, big match feel, big checks being written, because that man will come and find you if you say them words that involve rumbling. He will come and find you. And I'm not saying that shit because I ain't writing no checks for Michael Buffer. I ain't got it, goddammit. Trying to put a patio in. So, with that said, This is a steel cage grudge match. You have Hollywood Hulk Hogan, again, not wrestling or challenging for his title, against Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper. Leading up to this event, like I said earlier, Piper became the commissioner of WCW after they beat the shit out of JJ Dillon. So Piper was like, you know what? I'm sick of this shit. I'm going to put myself in a steel cage match with Hulk Hogan, and there's nothing he can do about it. So this, at this point in time, because you're getting Sting appearances here and there. Sting, he's dropping from the rafters typically at the last 10 minutes of a show. We sit there on, I remember Nitros in the past, especially in this era, just waiting for Sting to do something. Never does anything. Still waiting for Sting to do something. He's just sitting there. Oh shit, he drops down from the ceiling. He beats up the NWO with no explanation of if he's going to say something next week. We back at square one. So now we're finally starting to see some things happen. And the reason being, because in this era of WCW, this was, in my opinion, the biggest main event that they had going for them. If they wouldn't have fucked up the main event for, not this main event on this card, but the main event that's going to be leading up with Sting and Hulk Hogan and Starrcade this year, too much from this event. If they don't botch any of this, there's an argument that WCW doesn't go out the way they end up going out in 2001.
Possibly.
This is the foundation for a lot of that, in my opinion. And I think this main event is a good precursor into the bullshit that awaits as far as future Hulk Hogan main events. So, with that said, Piper stole Hogan's belt. He did not win it, but he stole it from him on a previous Nitro leading up to this pay-per-view. So, not only does Hulk Hogan not have his belt, but he also comes out first. I was like, whoa. Not Mr. That doesn't work for me, brother. I don't even know what that was about. That is not Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
But he did it. He came out first. I don't understand it, but that's a story for another day, I'm sure. So with that being said, Piper comes out last with the belt, NWO spray painted up. I love the OG Big Gold belt with the NWO spray paint on it. Because the one they sell like on the team shop, thumbs down. That shit looks too perfect. Like the NWO on it, it's like too aesthetically pleasing. Nah, dog. When they spray painted the real shit on the real Big Gold belt, that shit looked crazy on there. It wasn't like perfect, like NWO, same font, same letter size. Like, no, as you saw, there's just a big ass W on the front of that shit. Little in and a little I'm like, yep, that's the real spray paint job. Fucking fire. To just spray paint Big Gold belt like that and just be iconic in itself. Shout out to Hulk Hogan for that. I'll give him credit for that, because that's wild that became such a thing. For him to disrespect Big Goldie like that, and that kind of like the new lipstick Big Goldie needed, so to speak, at the period of time. Pretty wild. But yeah, man, what was your thoughts about the lead up to this match, as far as what you knew, and then what you thought about just the entrances and all that stuff? What was your thoughts of seeing Hogan come out first and no title?
So pretty weird that Hogan would agree to a lot of this, in my opinion. Just knowing Hogan before this and then what happens after in his career and his booking decisions and things of sorts. Seeing Hogan come out first was very surprising. Usually Hogan is main attraction. You know, you're going to see him last, big flashy entrance. Not holding the belt, getting it stolen, good storyline, but you know, not defending it here was a little weird. I don't know. I don't necessarily know if there was an explanation of why he's not defending it right, you know, in the pay-per-view, but just kind of weird. And then the uses of the fake stings.
Oh, we're going to get into it. Ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous.
Everything about it, and just the weird booking of Hogan in this match is just really what stuck out to me.
Oh, don't worry.
I'm not even going to get into the wrestling right now, but the entrances were nice. The lead up was pretty cool with, you know, him stealing it on a Nitro and things like that. I'm not a big Roddy Piper guy.
Oh, what?
you got a different era, bro.
Fair enough.
You got to
fair
think.
enough.
The first time I saw him, remember last episode, the first time I saw him is when WWE started using him in the early 2000s again.
Got
to bring him back and things like that.
Like
when
when him and Hulk Hogan
like
and Vince McMahon had that match.
Yeah, and they put
WrestleMania.
the titles on him and shit like that. I forget who
did.
his tag team
Holy
partner.
shit, they did.
I forget who his tag
titles, I
team
believe.
partner was. It I can't remember who his partner was.
It was a young guy. He was trying to get over. To your point, that's what they were using those guys for.
Yeah, but
I can't
they
recall
belted
it
him
either.
up.
Yeah,
But they belted him up and everything. So that was my first introduction to Roddy Piper. And at that point, dude could barely fucking wrestle. Like, he could barely wrestle at that point, in my opinion.
That's fair, bro. I can't fault you for that.
So this is like, what, 10 years earlier than that? So even at this point, Roddy is kind of on a bit of a decline age-wise in his career. So, like I said, I'm not hating. It's just how it was presented to me originally, man. I'm sorry.
Oh no doubt. You ain't gotta apologize here, bro. We don't say sorry on this show.
I ain't trying to disrespect some people's wrestling opinions, but
no, dog.
I'm just
you can never
Piper
disrespect me.
Piper and Flair on this card, not me, man.
I get it. It's again, child of the era. So I saw some things that unfortunately you never got the privilege to see. So with that being said, you've never seen it, and you having this kind of just stale taste in your mouth of Roddy Piper. I'm gonna need you to wash it out by going to watch WrestleMania 8. I believe it's 8 when he wrestles Bret Hart for the Intercontinental title.
All right.
I want to say it's WrestleMania 8. If it's not 8, it's WrestleMania 7. But that is probably the best wrestling match Roddy Piper's ever put on. So if you want to understand why people respect Roddy Piper in the ring, watch that match. His mic work speaks for itself. The man can talk on the mic. He's the gift of gab. That's what he's here for.
I know that.
Yes, but as far as why people respected him in the ring, that match is why I respect Roddy Piper in the ring. Because I'll go back. That match is up there as far as Bret Hart's matches. It's right up there with his Mr. Perfect match when he went over Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam when he won his first IC title. So yes, I implore you to go watch that match from Roddy Piper and give us some feedback on the next episode about that. But yes, to your point, this was the start of the deterioration of Roddy Piper. There was a point when they started feuding when Hogan turned heel and Roddy Piper came back. Roddy Piper had just had like hip surgery or something. I'm not laughing at hip surgery. I'm laughing at what they do to Roddy Piper on a random Nitro or pay-per-view event. But you know, Roddy always rocks the kilt with his tights underneath. There was a beatdown of Roddy Piper. I can't remember specifically what they were hitting him with, but it was some blunt object that they pulled up his kilt and was smacking that scar he had from his recent hip surgery. And it's a pretty wild scene. So with that being said, this is why the deterioration of Roddy Piper began, because he had just had like his first like I'm old surgeries, and it all started up around this time. But let's get into the card. Let's get into the match, I should say. We're in the cage. This cage is interesting, to say the least. It reminds me of the old school blue steel cages of WWF history. But this particular cage was used in a match in the early 90s involving like the Steiner brothers and Rick Steiner sitting in like an electrical chair. I recommend you going to look back at that. I can't remember the main event, but there was a match. That's where this steel cage was used. This is the last time we see this cage. Because if you've seen WCW shows, they usually use like the old school like cage, like you have to climb a fence in your backyard.
Like the link.
Yes, the chain link. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
It's usually what they're synonymous with. I fucking love. That's my favorite cage is a chain link cage because that's what cages look like.
Exactly. Chain link cage with the reinforced top. That's how it's supposed to be.
Correct. This shit looked like almost like the Punjabi prison match.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. It fucking reminds me of the Punjabi prison. Like, yeah, it looks so janky, like fucking tied with string, like dental floss and aluminum foil. Like,
definitely looks that way.
It's nasty.
Especially when those guys are fighting on that thing for like 5 to 7 minutes of the match. I'm like, shit, that bitch might fucking fall down in the crowd. That shit looks dangerous. There is a dope ass shot of them fighting on the cage. I don't know how they got this shot because it's before the age of drones and shit. But there's like an aerial shot a little bit towards the end of the match where they're fighting on the cage, and you see Sting's 2 through 5 appear to kind of stop them from coming down. But yeah, like I said, the cage was fucking weird. But regardless, beyond the cage, you have Hogan and Piper selling the story of what they were going through. Hogan being chicken shit heel, running from Piper, trying to get away from him. Even a questionable spot where Roddy Piper is trying to get Hogan off the cage. He's whipping him with his belt, and it proceeds to try to bite him on his butthole.
On his ass.
Yeah, it looked like he probably would have got pink eye if Hulk Hogan didn't wipe good that day. I was like, whoa, that's too close for comfort for me. Kayfabe or not. You would not catch me selling anything by chomping on some asses. I ain't me.
Yeah, didn't see Piper damn near giving Hogan a rim job on my wrestling card in 2023. So that very surprising.
So after those dudes do that kind of merry-go-round in the ring, Hogan on his heel shit, he's trying to leave, and starts walking down the ramp. Here we go. We got Sting number 2. Why? I don't know. He's there to tell Hulk Hogan, get back in the ring. Why is the real Sting never came out in this event at all? Don't understand it. But if we were going to have real Sting, I feel like this would have been the spot that real Sting would have been in. Because why else would these fake Stings have been there to tell Hogan to go in the ring? This would have been the most, if we're going to make sense out of something that doesn't make sense, this would have been the most sensible part of it. So with that being said, you get Sting number 2 coming down the ramp. Hogan goes back in the ring, starts fighting it again, fighting with Piper again. Then at that point in time, they're going up the cage like I was just talking. You start seeing Stings pop up on the stairs of the crowd. Weird as fuck. Don't understand it. I would love somebody to do some deep diving, talk to Steve Borton, ask him about this. I should have hit up Seahawk on Twitter since he did the article with Sting a few months back and be like, hey man, you should have asked him about this. Like, what was happening?
Why the hell y'all do that?
In the words of Conrad Thompson, who booked this shit? Because bro, none of it made sense to me. And this was sudden, to your point, like the Macho and DDP match being a microcosm basically of WCW at this time. This is the end of that match, of the DDP and Macho match. This here. So, yeah, bro. So we get the Stings outside. They are fighting on the top of the cage. They eventually come down to fight. From that point in time, we have 5 Stings all surrounded.
Yeah.
3 in the crowd, 2 on the aisleway. So Piper's getting ready to win the match, and Macho Man runs down the ramp. Blows by the Stings. Stings are completely unbothered by Macho Man. Again, what's the fucking point if they're not going to stop Macho Man? Macho Man, I don't know what he was on. It looked like he had just blasted a line of coke or something and ran out there. He, without question, was like, I'm climbing this cage. He did not think, let me go open the door. He went straight to sprinting up the cage. Sprints up the cage, and fuck Hulk Hogan for this, bro. Fuck Hulk Hogan for this. Because he could have killed Macho Man. So he goes up to the cage, comes down with a fucking axe handle. Like, and mind y'all, during this match, they just said when Roddy Piper was just halfway up this cage, if he falls, he could die. Macho Man is at the top of this cage. Yo, if y'all don't go watch anything from this card, I've never said this on the first 2 episodes, go watch this part of this match. Just this part. You can find it clipped out on YouTube. Go watch this part. Because Macho Man should not be able to walk after this spot. And I remember as leading up to this show, as we were figuring out what we were going to talk about for this episode, I told Sean, this is the event where Macho Man does some wild shit. And I'm glad he saw it. So Sean, your first thought when you saw Macho Man pull this shit?
That, I just thought of like the knees, bro. Like, I just looked at it and I was like, oh, he most definitely broke his legs. And then he just got up and started wrestling again. And I'm like, yo, you got bones of steel.
My man.
Hulk Hogan, you are a bitch for not protecting him.
Thank you.
You were supposed to cushion that fall. You're not catch him. I understand you might not have been able to catch a whole ass grown man.
Take a little bit of that blow, bro.
A little bit, bro. Like, that's what I'm just like with Hulk Hogan, bro. Fuck you. That man could have had his whole leg shattered. Like, that was a nasty spot.
It was like Macho Man knew Hulk Hogan wasn't going to catch him the way he landed. Because if he thought he was, he wouldn't have bent his knees, I feel like.
Yeah, because he broke at a certain point to where he kind of like rolled on his body.
Yep.
So nastiness that shouldn't have happened. Hulk Hogan is a bitch for that one, bro.
Thank God Macho Man, thank God Macho's Macho and saw the bullshit. And knew Hulk Hogan was going to be on some bullshit. Like in the back of his mind, like, I just know that fucking Terry is going to be on his shit.
Oh yeah.
So I could just see it. That spot forever burned in my mind. I will never forget that spot because I thought it was crazy when I was a kid. So immediately Macho Man rolls outside the ring. When he's trying to break up, we get a sleeper hold on Hogan from there. Also, a little bit before this sleeper hold and Macho Man running out, Hulk Hogan gives Roddy Piper not one, but two of the big leg drops, and he kicks out. I was like, yo, what did Roddy Piper have on Hogan? Like, what? I mean, we all know the person Hogan is now, but at the time, was like, Roddy, like, hey, man, I'm about to start talking shit about you. He's like, wait, hold on, brother. We can work this out. I do have creative control clauses. Sit down and have a drink. We can talk this out. Come smoke a dude with your boy Hulk. And I could see that's probably how that went down, allegedly.
Most definitely. On that one, most definitely, bro.
I'm like,
because there's so much shit in this match that's anti how Hulk Hogan would have looked.
It's weird, bro.
It's very weird. It's questionable, like you said. Damn, did he have something on him? Like, was this blackmail, bro? Because since when does Hulk Hogan deliver two finishers and not in the match, and you got his belt and he comes out first, and it's like, wow.
It was Bizarro World, bro.
Weird.
I don't understand it. But regardless, with that being said, this is where the shit completely flies off the rails of this match.
It hits the fucking thing.
So we got Piper puts Hogan in the sleeper. Hogan taps from said sleeper. Macho Man rolls back in the ring a second too late to break it up. They proceed to beat the shit out of Roddy Piper. We get a Sting. One of the Stings decided to come in the ring. I don't know why. Gets kicked in the face or gets kicked by Hulk Hogan in the stomach. Mask flies off. Dude looks like a foot soldier from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with a stocking cap over his face. He's about to fucking rob the place. I don't know why this dude was trying to hide his identity. It's probably just some jobber in the back they threw a Sting mask on. From there, they proceed to handcuff Piper, crucifixion style, to the cage, which is wild. Beat the shit out of him. Eric Bischoff runs down to get his slicks in. Then we get probably the most wild thing of this whole night to happen. And there's still controversy about what this really was. I think Sean agrees with me on this as well, that this is an actual fan coming up the cage. Looks like he's sick of this shit too, of the NWO shit. My man's looked really fed up. Like, I've had enough. It's been a year. These motherfuckers keep running roughshod on my guys. I'm sick of seeing it. So my man runs in the ring, proceeds to get hemmed up by Macho Man. And this is where it becomes questionable to me. Because you got this punk ass motherfucker, Hulk Hogan, throwing working punches on a guy that was allegedly a fan not supposed to be in the ring. And the thing that confuses me so much about this, bro, like, you see like the security, like the real security for WCW, holding this dude down. The fake Sting that came into the ring, holding this dude down. This dude's like screaming to get off of me. Like, I want to fight. But Hulk Hogan throwing those working punches threw me off. So that's where I'm like, was this a plant? Was it a fan? I lean towards fan. Sean, you lean towards fan too, right? Or am I tripping?
So I think I don't want to sound crazy, but I think it was a fan. What I think Hulk Hogan was thinking was to throw, if they were working punches, I think he was going to throw a couple working ones just to make the crowd believe a fan did not just jump the barricade because he had Sting makeup on.
Okay. You can
kind
sell
of keep it under control and focus on the match rather than, oh shit, a fan just jumped in, and now you take all the attention away from Piper and Savage and everybody doing their shit. So I think that's what he kind of did to keep it under control, because if Piper and fucking Hogan both went after the fan and tackled him and did shit like that, that would have caused a spectacle and kind of fucked the whole kayfabe of the match up.
That's a good point.
So the fact Hogan kind of, I guess, kept kayfabe right there, you could say. This is just me fucking spitballing. I don't know, but that's my best guess for it, if that was a real fan.
No, bro. And the last thing I'll bring up about this fan spot is usually when there's a something that's not planned, the camera doesn't pan towards it until after the fact, if they're going to pan towards it. WWE's like, they write the book on not addressing bullshit that they don't plan. So WCW is like the Wild West. So what makes me think that this was could be a plant, the camera immediately focused on this dude, and Tony Schiavone says like, oh, here we go. Here's a fan. He's fed up running in the ring. This is stupid. Like, he even says like, this is dumb or this is stupid or something before it happens. But the fact that camera pans to it was pretty wild to me. It kind of speaks to it like, maybe this is some kayfabe shit. But regardless, kudos to them for not having us to be straight up and guess it which way or the other. But still, in the spirit of WCW in this time frame, the show ends in a complete clusterfuck. You got security holding this dude down. 4 grown-ass men trying to remove one grown man by each limb of his body. You got Roddy Piper just hanging up dead on the ring, on the cage. And that's how the show fades to black to credits.
Oh god, people's asses getting whooped, face paint is falling off this dude's face as he's getting drug out of the cage shit like that.
And Sting
it was
fashion.
Just chaos, bro.
All
fucking chaos to end a pay-per-view. That shit was insane.
Yes. So that's the card, y'all. What a card it was. Probably the most wildest card we've reviewed to date so far, but it's only episode 3. I kind of alluded to it already. I already gave my pick of the night. Sean, you sticking with that DDP Macho Man is your match of the night, or you gonna change up on me?
Strictly for the chaotic, that DDP was my personal favorite match. The main event has to be the most entertaining match of the night.
For all the wrong reasons.
All the wrong fucking reasons. Between the Hogan fuck up and not protecting Macho Man, between the booking shit that Hogan already doesn't like that happened, the so-called fan jumping the cage, crucifying fucking Piper, tying him up, just the chaotic ending. I would say that one was just the most entertaining.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, initially, like when I cut the card on, I was like, oh, favorite match of the card is going to be Ray and Eddie, no doubt. But once I saw DDP and Macho wrestle, that spoke to more of like, all right, it hits everything. You have the actual wrestling, you got the brutality, you got the ridiculous spots outside the ring, you got the interference, you got the commentary, all kind of hitting like a great recipe, meshing together at the right time. So that's kind of why it won that for me, because it just hit all of the ping points of what I like in wrestling, all in one fell swoop. But that's this card, man. Halloween Havoc 1997. The Tale of 5 Stings is what it should be called without the real one. But hey, crazy fucking card. Had a blast watching this back. Like Sean said last week, that Ruthless Aggression era was his. This shit was me all day, man. This shit brought back a lot of good feelings. As far as just what was happening at this time in my life and what was happening in wrestling, man. Even though WCW went out of business 5 years after this happened, which is even crazy to think about when you look back at these pay-per-views, it was still a fucking great time, great memories, and we're gonna keep them coming to y'all in a couple weeks. So with that being said, this is another episode of the BA Show with the homie, the genius, Sean from Fourth Row. Sean, tell the people where they can find you and what you got going on right now, my brother.
I don't got shit going on but this podcast unless somebody else pays me to do some other shit. So if y'all got anything, just let me know. Other than that, it's at the same at Fourth Row on Twitter, and that's at Fourth Row on Twitter, man. For sure. That's the only place you're gonna find me. So hit me up, man.
Hit that man up, and if somebody else paying for podcast shit, I want some money too. I'm free during the night, so I can talk on this mic outside of this wrestling shit.
It's a package deal.
Yes, sir. But then as far as me, y'all already know. Find me every Friday with the fellas, A-Dub, the Tribal Pod Chief, E-Ray, a.k.a. Peen Malenko, Brody Lowe's, the American Creed, all that fun stuff. You find us every Friday talking our shit every week on the weekly recaps that we do of the WWE and a little bit of AEW. Probably a little bit more this week, but we'll see. Or because we got the Double or Nothing Fallout. But yes, you'll find me there. You'll find us at Let Me Book Pod on all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Also find us letmebookpod.com. That's the easiest way to find us as far as if you want to catch our episodes, these episodes here. That's the only place you can find us. And then also our main show as well is also through the Inaudible Ruckus streaming channel as well, RSS feed as well with that partnership. But good people, thank you. If you stuck around this long for us, you're welcome, because I know you just got blessed with the greatness that is the BA Show. And remember, as everyone says on the main show, everything is wrestling. Let the madness wash over you. And if you're Hulk Hogan, that doesn't work for me, brother.
Fuck you.
And fuck you. We out this bitch. Oh yeah.